Well, how are we all today? If you did not see my first video on this subject matter, I will leave a link somewhere. It's usually in one of these corners, but I get it mixed up. But what we are doing here is going through Giant's line, what we know so far. The first video that I did was, of course, what everyone wanted to see the most, which was their full suspension line. Coming up next is going to be Giant's Hardtail offering for 2022. So again, I have to put this out as a preface. The supply chain is nuts. So at the bottom, there's always a line that says parts and price are subject to change at a moment's notice. This is with every bike manufacturer. But I want to at least give you guys like some specs and some details on some of these bikes. That way you can try to make an informed decision on what you want to purchase in 2022, because trying not to sound like a salesman whatsoever, if you want a new bike before the end of 2022, you have to start looking now and getting your name on some of these things. Oh, and real quick, because I've had a lot of new people show up for the channel, and I thank you all so much. Please, if you're not already, like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, all that stuff seriously helps. But this is not my room. We'll go over that later. Not my room. Let's just jump right in. Let's see what Giant has to offer in the Hardtail line. If you didn't watch my previous video, there's some info on the line overall. Go back and watch it. I will put a price list and timestamps down below, so if there's a specific bike that you're really looking for, go below. I will have prices down there. I will have timestamps. But the first bike that we come across is one of my favorites of all time, mainly because this was my first true race bike, so I am always enthused when they come out with a new one. It is the XtC Advanced SL 29-1. So this is their race hardtail. So of course this is going to be the most expensive hardtail that you can get. It is coming with a RockShox SID SL Select 100mm. I personally think in a few years the 100mm fork is going to be like the 80mm of years past. Suspension is just getting to the point now, and geometry is getting to the point that I think we can almost do away with a strict 100. I think bare minimum we can do 110, 120 I think is ideal, even on a race bike like this, because more and more I'm getting my butt whooped by people that are on full suspension bikes that are on 120, 130 forks in an XC race, because honestly, when you're racing like a Cat 1, you have to have fitness, of course, but sometimes these trails are just, it's more about how fast you can go through stuff, because you can only pedal so fast, and then it's all about your handling skills through some of the techie stuff. So having a little bit more suspension I think helps. Of course this is a hardtail, so take that, what I just said, with a grain of salt. If you're using this for like a short track race, 100 is perfect, but honestly the short track races we have around here, I think you should just do a rigid fork, because that's all you really need and you'd do fine with it. Anyway, that's a little rant, let's keep moving. It does have the Charger damper, which is a pretty nice damper in that fork. Color, I love that chameleon. That's what came on my wife's mountain bike that we bought her a couple years ago. They've kind of updated the colorway some, so it fades a little bit, but I love that chameleon colorway. And they are, to my surprise, putting a dropper post on the new one. It is just a contact switch, pretty normal. Let's see, it is coming with full Dior XT 1x12. If I'm going to be completely honest, Shimano in the past year has done such a poor job with their QC. So has SRAM. Everything's QC has been going down, but I think out of the people that I know racing and riding XTR, I mean, it's probably been, I don't know, 7 out of 10 people have had to warranty their XTR shifters. So even though I'd rather see XTR on the high-end bike, I'm kind of glad it's not coming with XTR, because we haven't had near as many problems out of XT. And it is coming with full XT, so it's a full group minus the crankset. Praxis carbon crankset, maybe they're doing that because Shimano doesn't do a carbon crankset to get the weight down. It is also coming with a full carbon wheel set XCR. That bike's gonna weigh nothing. It'll weigh like 20 pounds. But yeah, there you go. Highest end right now. Now let's take a look, a gander at the ones I'm more interested in, because so more people can actually afford these things. So you have the XtC Advance 29.3. That looks like a police bike, honestly. Colorway is pretty good. I'm a sucker for like black and blue, black and red. I enjoy that. I like the colorway that they put here with this front fork though. Sorry about zooming in because these pictures, they don't adjust well once you zoom in. They stay a little pixelated, but you get the basic idea. Let's see, they're calling this black and sapphire. I'm curious to see what the price point is for this bike. So full carbon frame. I would really hope this is gonna be about a $2,000 bike. We'll see, because this is coming with a RockShox Recon Silver. I would at least want to see like one step above the Recon getting put on this bike. The Recon's not a terrible fork, it's just entry level. And when you get used to something like a nicer Fox fork and you go to this Recon, it's kind of pogo sticky, if I'm gonna be honest. It is not coming with a dropper post, so to get the dropper you have to get the highest end one. Not that that would be the reason why I would go with the highest end one. It is also coming with Shimano Dior 1x12 and the Dior level brakes. I think the 400 series is it's pretty much Dior, it's just unbranded as Dior. And then the wheel set is XCT 29s. Of course they're gonna be tubeless, and it is coming with 225s on there. So not a bad bike if you're looking for a race hardtail. I would honestly probably buy this one over the highest end one and slap a nice set of wheels on it and go to town, because it's gonna be a lightweight short track machine. But more and more, once you get to this price point, most people just go ahead and buy a full suspension bike. But in my opinion, in a perfect world, I would have one of everything. I would have a race hardtail, race full suspension, downhill bike, trail bike, but I don't have an unlimited amount of money, so I've got just one full suspension. Let's move along. So the XtC SLR 29.2, these are artist renderings, I believe. If you remember last year, I did a review on this bike. The XtC SLR is an aluminum hardtail, super lightweight, and I was blown away by this bike. So the one that I tried last year, this was pre-pandemic pricing. So actually it might've been 2 years ago. I mean, we've been dealing with this for a while now. The pricing on it was like $1,500, $1,250 to $1,500, and that bike ripped for that amount of money. I was blown away. It came with SX back then, and SX is garbage. I've never had anything good to say about SX, and this one is still coming with SX, so that's a little bit of a letdown. SRAM actually said they are trying to fix SX by making the cage and everything aluminum instead of plastic, so I'm not going to talk trash too much on this SX because this might be the new stuff and it might work great. But one thing that I love is they're still putting Shimano brakes on it. You're not gonna have any problems out of the brakes, but it is SX, so be aware of that. Let's see, the fork is the Giant Crest 34 with the remote lockout. Now, I heard from a lot of you guys, and you can read it on Reddit, that there was a clicking noise with a lot of these Crest forks and there were problems with them. This is just anecdotal evidence. I know there is enough information out there to know that Giant had a problem with them. Out of the piles and piles of bikes that went through the bike shop that had a Giant Crest fork on them, we only had, I think, one come back. Giant warrantied it and it was fine. I'm sure they did have a bad run of them. Anecdotal evidence, I didn't see a lot of it, so take that for what you will. In the picture, it looks like it's coming with a dropper post, but they're just saying a Giant Connect 30.9. Giant Connect is just a standard seat post. See, Giant Connect 30.9 over here on the Advance, so you can't 100% go by these pictures. They're just an artist rendering to kind of show you what the bike is going to look like color-wise. Now we move on to the Fathoms. The Fathoms have been a staple of the Giant line for a while now, and this is what most people end up buying because it is a more trail-oriented hardtail, I guess you could say. So the head tube angle, all that stuff's raked out a little bit more than what you would actually see on the XtC. So the Fathom 29.1, two new colorways. I actually am in love with that orange. That looks awesome. I'm hoping they actually stick with no decals on the side. I love bikes like that. That's just me. The fork is a Giant Crest 34 SL. I wonder if the SL is new. I need to look that up. Handlebars, seat post, it is coming with a dropper post, thankfully, and this is going to have SX on it. So again, SX with Shimano brakes. So essentially this is identical to the XtC that we just looked at. It is just the bigger travel hardtail. It's got 130 millimeters of suspension on the front. That's gotta be a new crest. When speaking with Giant too, they wanted to start doing their own suspension only because of the supply chain issues. They were using, what was it? The Suntour, SR Suntour. They were using SR Suntour. If you follow SR Suntour, they've always made high-end stuff over in, like, I think the European market. Like, they've got some nice suspension. Giant tried to use them for a couple years for their mid-priced bikes. I don't know the ins and outs, but I do know from them that they were having a supply issue even before the pandemic hit. So that's one reason why Giant started doing their own suspension. Their suspension is super simple and easy to work on, so I'm hoping as long as they continue to support it, or as long as the parts are interchangeable with like a RockShox or something, I'm fine with them doing their own thing. I just hate it when bike companies do something new, like, hey, let's make our own rear shock, and then 3 years from now they don't support it anymore and you can't get parts. That irks the crap out of me. To the Fathom 29 TU. So not much difference in the colorway, just a little darker. They call it terracotta. I'm not a big fan of that. I like the bright colors. That's just me. Same fork, it is coming with Dior 1x10, so the big difference is they're gonna hit you a little bit with your brakes, I think. Let's see, brakes are, yes, Tektro. So it's coming with Tektro. But Tektro still, they're not terrible. I would still argue they're way better than the SRAM as far as warranty issues. And it is coming with 1x10 instead of the 1x12 that you get with the SX. So it's actually coming with an 1146. Not that, I think it's a 1050 or maybe it's an 1150 on this guy. 1150, the Fathom 1 and 2. These are probably going to be pretty similar to what we just looked at, but they are going to both have 27.5-inch wheels. We'll blow through these super quickly. Let's see, Giant crest, 130 mil travel. Colorway looks nice, but it's just silver. SX Eagle, Shimano brakes. Yes, this is going to be pretty much identical. They're just doing it in another wheel size. We got these two colors here. I'm just going to call that one milk, and that one's green. Let's look at the Talons really quick. So that was the end of the mid to high end bikes. So let's look at the entry level hardtails we got on option. So we have the Talon 1. I think most of these Talons are going to be carryover bikes. So you have the black and the blue. So the Talon 1 is coming with, it says SXC 32, so that should be an SR Suntour fork, I believe. Am I correct on that? I'm not sure. But it does say Giant. I kind of thought it would come with a Giant crest. And then you're getting Dior 1x10 with Tektro brakes. The brakes aren't as nice, but for all intents and purposes, so you're not getting a dropper post, and this is a Talon. A little hit on the fork, but it's coming relatively spec'd like that entry-level Fathom, which is it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. And they are doing these bikes in 27.5 or 29-inch wheels. Now let's move over to the bread and butter of bicycles right here, the Talon 2. This is probably the most popular one because of price point. Usually it's in between $700 and $800. So this is coming with an SR Suntour. This SR Suntour is not an air fork, so it's basically going to be a pogo stick. Night Shield is a pretty cool name. It's just silver. We're getting micro shift, so we started seeing this trickle in this past year. Giant has started to use micro shift, and it's a 1x9, and it actually works pretty good. We've had no problems out of it. It's Advent. My only gripe with Advent is Advent from microshift only works with other Advent marked microshift, so you can't interchange it, to my knowledge, with SRAM or Shimano. I was hoping it was just Shimano cable pull. That would give you a lot bigger options if you broke something. So you are getting the hydraulic brakes. It's got a 180 in the front and a 160 in the rear. That's pretty nice on this price point of a bike. And it doesn't say, I don't think the wheels are tubeless. It doesn't actually state that they are. And again, 27.5 or 29. Talon 4, so this is going to be, in my opinion, the bare bones, the entry level. Would not go below this if you want to ride a mountain bike trail. This is the Talon 4. What you lose out on is it is coming with micro shift 1x8. Usually this bike is around $500 to $600. Oh, update. I like this. I've said this for years. So they're putting on this bare bones Talon 4, the entry-level bike. It is going to be a 1x. Last year it was a 2x7. So it had 2 gears in the front, 7 in the rear. Now they're doing 1 gear in the front, 8 gears in the rear, so it eliminates that left shifter completely. You don't have to worry about that, and I've said this for years. Even if you don't have the proper amount of gear range, I think doing a 1x for a beginner, so much better, especially on a mountain bike, because front derailleurs never really worked that well on a mountain bike anyway, because you're bouncing around so much. So now, this is a big upgrade. Downfall is you don't get hydraulic brakes. It is mechanical. Disc brakes though, so they're still gonna work. This is a great entry-level bike. This is usually the one I point people to if they're just getting into the sport. See, the picture still has a front derailleur on it. And the reason I point them to this is because I think, in my opinion, if you're gonna be in the same boat a year from now with this bike, no matter which way you go, if you have no idea what bicycle you want and you buy this one, let's say you pay $600 for it. A year from now, you're probably either gonna have it stashed in your garage and you might go, man, I'm not riding that thing at all, I just need to sell it. Or you're gonna be like, holy crap, I love mountain biking, I want a new bicycle. And you're probably gonna be able to sell it for $400. So that means for about a year, you bought a bike for $200. You can't beat that. Now, if you were to go out and buy that XTC that is like $2 grand, turn around and sell it in a year, you're probably only gonna get $1,000 to $1,200 back out of it. So that's why I tell people, if you don't know really what you want, buy at least, I'd say, the Talon 4 or the Talon 2. And then that'll get you through the initial phase of learning how to mountain bike. I mean, if you get that Talon 2, that'll last you for a couple years unless you really get hot and heavy into it. And then if you don't and you just wanted a nice bike, that bike's gonna last. We've had people have Talons for 10 years and still ride them. You know, they're a once a month rider. It's a great platform to start mountain biking on. And there you have it, guys. I hope this at least can point you in the right direction so you can see these colorways. You can start making an informed decision on what bike you want to get, because like I said, if you want a bike before the end of 2022, now's the time to start looking. Bike shops have pre-ordered most of the bikes that they are hoping to get for next year. Thank you all for joining me for going through Giant's 2022 line. I will see everybody in the next one, and I hope everyone is having a wonderful, happy holidays.